40 Divine Lessons from Jesus, Miraculous Guidance for Daily Supernatural Living Revealed. In the heart of an ancient English village, known for its quaint cobblestone streets and the historic church that stood watch over generations, Mary Thompson felt the whispers of the divine as she knelt in prayer. The sun cast a warm glow over the church's stone walls, illuminating her fervent face, eyes closed, heart open. It was here that she believed miracles could happen, that answers to prayer could manifest in wondrous forms. Little did she know, an extraordinary journey was about to unravel before her. As Mary pressed deeper into her prayers, she began to sense something otherworldly. With every breath, she felt shivers of divine presence dance through her. Suddenly, she saw a glimmer of light flickering before her, a radiant figure cloaked in ethereal white, whose voice resonated like a heavenly choir. "Mary," the voice called, soft yet thunderous, "miracles await those who seek with pure hearts." This was no ordinary moment, it was a solemn promise of divine guidance that sent waves of hope crashing over her. The next days were interspersed with extraordinary occurrences. Each morning, as she rose and shared her heart with God, she began to experience what she believed were divine revelations. Words flowed into her mind, message-filled inspirations that echoed with the power of miracles Jesus had performed. She hurriedly wrote them down, convinced these were truths meant to bolster not just her faith but the very foundation of her family. Yet shadows crept in. John, her steadfast husband, once full of faith, began to doubt. The unanswered prayers for their daughter, Sarah, weighed heavily on him like chains of anguish. "Where is he in our despair?" John would whisper, the skepticism clawing at his heart. Mary felt a deep ache within her, her family's faith unraveling like a worn tapestry. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. When Sarah received the heart-wrenching diagnosis of a terminal illness, Mary's world tilted dangerously. She rallied her community for a prayer vigil, their voices rising up in desperate harmony, calling upon St. Jude, the patron saint of desperate cases. Candles flickered as they prayed, the air thick with emotion. It was in that tension-filled moment that Mary discovered an ancient journal beneath the church floor, a relic of countless testimonies detailing miraculous healings at a nearby sanctuary. Her heart raced with renewed purpose. Could she lead her family to that sacred site and reclaim their faith? As the community joined her in a pilgrimage, Mary felt the divine stir around them. Every step toward the sanctuary pulsed with anticipation. She witnessed glimpses of faith igniting within John and the villagers, each heartfelt prayer freeing burdens from their weary souls. Just as they reached the sacred site, John's resolve was tested. He witnessed a miracle, an undeniable shift in the atmosphere that lifted the heavy fog of his skepticism. With the joyous eruption of believers around him, his heart trembled, wondering what this moment meant for their family. Would it reignite their shared faith, or would the lingering shadows of doubt pull them apart? The mysteries of divine understanding lingered thick in the air, and the promise of what lay ahead remained tantalizingly uncertain. The sanctuary stood grand and ancient, its weathered stones bearing witness to times long past. Mary's heart raced as the village gathered within the cool, sacred walls. The scent of burning incense wafted through the air, mingling with the sound of hushed whispers, fragile hopes wrapped in prayer. Together Mary encouraged, her voice steady yet soft, "Let us unite our faith. Let us not falter before despair." She looked around the circle of faces, some weary, others radiant with revived hope. John stood close, his expression a thunderstorm of emotions wrestling for dominance. As they prayed, the room shimmered with potent energy. Mary felt the weight of the ancient journal in her hand, its pages filled with miraculous tales inviting their spirits to believe. "Lord," she spoke aloud, "we humbly request healing for our Sarah. Restore her to us, if it be your will." The congregation sighed, a single breath of intercession soaring upward. Suddenly, a warmth enveloped them, as if the sun itself had entered the room, casting away the cold. Mary's eyes widened, feeling drawn up into that holy light. And as if in response, a gentle breeze rippled through the space, carrying with it the echo of a child's laugh, a sound Mary could only associate with Sarah. "Did you hear that?" someone murmured. Murmurs of agreement followed. Inspired, Mary whispered, "He has heard us." John, still hesitant, fought against the tide of belief, yet felt an undercurrent pulling him closer to doubt's edge. With every prayer lifted, shadows of uncertainty and discontent that had lingered for so long began to recede, replaced by a budding light of possibility. As the gathering concluded, Mary approached the altar. She knelt, grappling with the penetrating silence that filled her heart. Beyond the sanctuary walls, the village glowed under the evening sky, a cozy haven of faith and hope. Yet her mind returned to the creased pages of the journal, the miracles it beckoned them to embrace. Why not us? She wondered aloud, a sentiment both haunting and empowering. Why can't we witness the power of God right here, right now? In that moment, a hush fell over the assembly. John hesitated, wrestling with his skepticism as he sensed an inexplicable force tugging at his very being. The chill of uncertainty mingled with a spark of hope, creating a tumultuous storm within. Could he truly let go of his fears? Could he embrace the possibility of divine intervention? With renewed faith bubbling up inside her, Mary stood before her husband, pleading silently for a breakthrough. "John," she breathed, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Believe with me. We can't give in to doubt." In that pivotal second, when everything hung in delicate balance, a flash of brilliant light burst forth, right before their eyes. Gasps escaped the gathered crowd, for the miraculous had begun to unfold in their presence. What was this divine intertwining of faith and wonder? Would this be the critical moment for John, the watershed that tilted him toward grasping the threads of hope? Without warning, the church bells began to toll, resonating loud and joyous, every ring affirming the promise of divine miracle in action. As hearts raced and eyes widened, Mary sensed the atmosphere shift once more, a divine invitation wrapped in mystery. What awaited them just beyond this moment? The journey deepened, and faith bound them tighter in unseen ways. Could the emerging light lead to the healing they sought? Where would this path of miracles take them next? The call of the unknown beckoned them forward. A hush settled over the gathering, thick with anticipation as the radiant light enveloped them. Faces turned skyward, hope igniting like a flame in their chests. Mary felt a flutter of joy pass through her heart, mingling with uncertainty, a beautiful chaos of emotions. Had they truly stepped beyond the veil of ordinary life into something extraordinary? "Look!" shouted a villager, pointing towards the altar as the light danced. It flickered like 1,000 stars colliding in one glorious moment. For Mary, it was as if the very air shimmered with divine promise and invitation to believe more deeply than ever before. "Is it happening?" someone whispered, eyes wide with wonder. Mary felt drawn to the light, stepping closer. It was more than a spectacle, it felt like a gentle tugging at her spirit, a reminder of all they had prayed for: Sarah's laughter, her smile, the warmth of her embrace. Would this moment bring them closer to that reality? Could faith truly carve a path to tangible miracles? John remained frozen, his brow knit tightly. The radiant light seemed to ripple through him, igniting doubts he thought were buried deep. What if this is just a trick? He mused silently, his mind racing. Yet, as he looked into the eyes of the villagers, he saw reflections of belief, a collective yearning for something more than their mundane existences. "I can feel him," one elderly woman murmured, tears streaming down her cheeks. "He is among us tonight. Don't you see? We are touched by his grace." Mary's heart leapt. "John," she urged softly, "listen to the voices around us. They believe. Can't you feel the presence, the hope? It's real." With a shuddering breath, John felt the weight of skepticism lifting, if only slightly. Was it possible that tonight was different? Did they stand on the brink of revelation? The air crackled with expectancy, and the bells outside crescendoed, a joyous proclamation echoing across the village. "Sarah!" A child cried, and the assembled flock turned in astonishment, eyes darting toward the back of the sanctuary. Could it be? The door creaked open slowly, revealing a figure bathed in the soft glow of light spilling from the sanctuary. It was Sarah. Eyes bright and spirit bubbling, she stood there, beaming as if she had been part of a divine dance. Gasps filled the room, a symphony of disbelief and wonder. "Mommy! Daddy!" She called out, her voice pure melody. Mary's heart soared, tears streamed down her face. "It's really her." "Thank you, Lord," she exclaimed, arms reaching out to envelop her daughter. But amidst this swirling joy, John stood still, rooted in disbelief. He was tugged between the dreamlike reality before him and the cavernous void of doubt that had been his companion. Sarah bounced into Mary's embrace, and the warmth enveloped them both, a cocoon of love and miraculous wonder. Meanwhile, John's world spun, pulling him into the essence of the sacred moment. Could this really be happening? As the villagers moved in closer to witness the child return from the shadows, the joyous exclamations mingled with prayers of gratitude. John's heart raced, uncertainties churning like a storm within him. Adoration was palpable, pressed against him like an unseen force begging to be acknowledged. "Have faith," Mary called out, sensing his struggle. "This is God's love in action. Can you not feel it?" A lull descended, the world outside forgotten for a heartbeat. In this sacred space, everything seemed possible. What if belief could shift the fabric of reality itself? Whatever was happening, it felt monumental. Yet even as joy bubbled around him, a silent question whispered to Johnny's heart, what could he truly believe? And as Sarah turned to her father, her gaze filled with youthful innocence and untainted faith, a light flickered in his heart, a spark that could no longer be ignored. What would he choose? Would he step willingly into faith's embrace, or would he allow doubt to shackle him? The decision poised at the edge of a more profound journey. A truth was dawning, but what lay beyond this moment of revelation? The night stretched ahead like an uncharted sea. The atmosphere buzzed with an almost tangible energy, reverberating with the joy that bloomed around Mary and Sarah. Villagers surrounded them, enveloping the little family in a circle of awe and love. Laughter intertwined with prayer, and gratitude danced on every lip. It was a moment suspended in time, a miracle unfolding before their eyes. Mary held Sarah tightly, absorbing every heartbeat, every giddy bubble of laughter that spilled forth from her sweet child. "Mommy," Sarah beamed, "where was I? I was so lost, and then I found my way back." Her innocence draped over the congregation like a warm blanket, a soothing balm on their weary souls. John's heart beat wildly, caught in the cyclone of emotions swirling around him. It was the beauty of the spectacle and the conviction of the villagers' faith that began to chip away at his doubts. He watched Mary's face, aglow with joy, and felt a strange stirring, like a seed of hope being watered for the first time. "Maybe," he whispered, barely audibly, "maybe it's real." Maybe the elderly woman's voice rang clear once more, "This is a sign from the heavens. A miracle. We must praise him." Her words ignited a chorus of amens and hallelujahs. Hands lifted toward the light, fingers trembling with reverence, hearts open with expectation. Mary's gaze never left Sarah, she could hardly breathe for the overwhelming joy. Yet, as she looked away momentarily to scan the sea of faces, she sensed John's turmoil beneath the surface. He hovered at the edge, feeling the warmth of faith but not diving in. "John, join us," she urged, her voice softening. "You don't have to understand everything. Just be here. Just believe." He shook his head, struggling internally. "How can I? What if it all fades away?" Mary stepped closer, holding Sarah against her side. "It isn't fading, it's bursting forth. Look at her. Look at all of us. This is more than a moment, it's a promise. Our God is here, John. Our God is always here." John's eyes locked onto Sarah's small face, illuminated by the brilliance surrounding them. How could the innocence of a child evoke such a profound yearning? In that moment, he felt a glimmer of faith, a single ray of light piercing through the cloak of doubt he had worn for so long. Mary reached for him, her expression filled with a fierce tenderness. "Tonight could change everything, love. Can you feel it?" Her words twisted around him like vines, drawing him closer, compelling him to step into the uncharted waters of faith. He felt a stillness seep into his heart, a quiet acceptance of the unknown. As Sarah laughed, delight unfurling like petals in spring, John felt his defenses bubble. "What if I believe and it doesn't hold? What if belief isn't reliant on certainty?" Mary interjected gently, her voice steady as a rock. "It's a choice, a leap toward the divine. It's trusting in miracles even when they're unseen. If we can't dare to step out in faith, then what are we living for?" The word struck John like the pealing of bells, resonating deep within. A quiet revolution started within him, ignited by the reunion before him and the love that enveloped everyone present. The villagers began to pray, their voices rising higher in a crescendo of hope and warmth that reverberated in the air. The dancing light flickered again, casting shimmering reflections on all faces, each a canvas of astonished joy and silent wonder. And in that sacred moment a bittersweet yearning tangled with hope the path unraveled before John. It was a whisper, gentle yet insistent, beckoning him closer. "Will you take the first step?" A voice echoed softly inside him, a call to abandon doubt for a moment and trust the one who promises. As he stood there, caught in the magnetic pull between fear and faith, he took a breath, preparing for what felt like the greatest leap of his life. What would it take for him to finally step through the doorway of belief? Would the next moment help him embrace a truth far greater? The congregation swayed like a great tree in the wind, faith swirling around them, urging him forward, closer to the light. Closer to the promise yet to unfold. The gentle murmur of prayer filled the air, saturating the moment with an almost palpable reverence. John stood at the edge of it all, held between two worlds, one of doubt and the other of faith. The villagers' voices soared above him, carried by wings of hope. It was as if each note stitched together a tapestry of belief, wrapping him in comfort even amid uncertainty. "Just take the first step," the soft urging echoed in his heart, intertwining with the rhythms of the gathering. The prayers flowed like a river, cascading towards something marvelous just beyond his reach. Yet, a part of him anchored him still, wary of what lay ahead. Mary's encouraging gaze locked onto his. With Sarah cradled against her side, her love for both radiated warmth, a beacon calling him closer. "It's okay, love," she whispered, her voice a balm for his restless spirit. "Not every answer must be known. Sometimes, it's the leap into the unknown that reveals the greatest truths." Slowly, he inhaled deep. The air carried a sweetness, a promise almost tangible. An undeniable wave of yearning washed over him, accompanied by the flickering light around them. Would he remain idle, watching miracles unfold? Or would he step forward into the light and trust in what he could not yet see? Each heartbeat echoed a silent question. Was faith the answer he had been seeking all along? With a trembling hand, John reached out. It was a small gesture, but in that moment, it felt monumental, an act of defiance against his doubts. As he extended his fingers, he felt the warmth of acceptance. Mary enveloped him with her loving grip, her smile illuminating the shadows of uncertainty. The congregation's prayers rose higher, reaching a palpable crescendo. There was a momentum, a force that seemed to draw him in, pulling at the fibers of his being. Slowly but surely, he found himself taking a hesitant step forward, caught in the gravity of faith surrounding him. As he moved deeper into the circle, the air shifted, heavy with expectation and shimmering with divine possibility. Sarah turned to him with those bright, innocent eyes, and in her gaze, he saw the embodiment of faith, a belief unfettered by doubt. She grinned widely, as if she sensed a secret he had yet to grasp. "Mommy, look! Daddy's coming!" Sarah beamed, her laughter echoing like music through a forest. With every giggle that spilled from her lips, John felt the chains of apprehension loosen ever so slightly. It was as though the simplicity of her joy chipped away at his walls, revealing the radiant light of hope behind them. "See. It's beautiful here," Sarah exclaimed, her wonder tangible, enveloping them in a tapestry of innocence and trust. Just then, an overwhelming wave of warmth overcame him, as if they were all suspended in a divine embrace. The crowd's eyes turned towards him, faces illuminated with faith, each one witnessing the very act of his coming closer. It struck him that they weren't merely spectators, they were a collective force, witnessing the miraculous in one another. What is this feeling? He thought, a flame igniting within. It wasn't just hope or joy, it was something far richer. It was love, unshakable and inviting. Then, a voice called to him from deep within, echoing louder amidst the prayers, "Will you trust?" A voice both familiar and powerful, urging him not just to step forward but to dive in fully. A revelation began to dawn, a clarity that whispered of peace in the storm, assurance in chaos. As he took another step, a surge of energy swept through him, unstoppable, unquenchable. It was then that he understood, this wasn't just about belief, it was about embracing the very essence of faith, the knowing that even amid uncertainty, one could find strength. Would he carry this newfound truth into his life outside this circle? Could he wrestle with fear and still emerge victorious? The questions echoed in his heart as he sensed the divine connection forged in that sacred gathering. A profound hush settled over the crowd. Every eye turned to him, hopeful, expectant. In that moment, a burning revelation ignited within him, preparing him for what was to come. What awaited him beyond this moment of grace? Would he discover the personal miracle that was meant just for him? As John stepped deeper into the thrumming heart of the gathering, an almost electric anticipation coursed through him. Every soul present seemed to pulse with life and purpose, each face glowed with an assurance that transcended the mundane. This wasn't just a meeting of hearts, it was a communion of spirits, united in a pursuit of divine intimacy. What is this magic? He pondered, overwhelmed. Sarah's laughter lingered in the air, a sweet reminder that joy could transform fear into hope. He paused, feeling the ground beneath him solidify with each echo of her happiness. Mary watched him with tenderness, and he drew strength from the solace found in her gaze. It was then he realized this journey would not be walked alone. The villagers rhythmically swayed, their prayers merging into a sonorous anthem. It was as though an unseen force laced through their voices, pulling John forward. He could not fight it any longer. This was his moment, a glorious threshold between faith and reality. With each determined step, the gravity of doubt gradually diminished, replaced by a gentle insistence that urged him onward. God is here right now, the words floated into his mind like drifting petals in a soft breeze. He would not just witness, he would participate in this divine dance. Just as thoughts of uncertainty threatened to pull him back, he paused, absorbing the moment. Outside the circle, a light flickered in the dimming evening. It danced like fireflies at twilight, an invitation to something greater. The warmth cradled him like a child, and his heart leaped. "I can feel you, God," he breathed, overwhelmed by the realization that indeed, he was there, enveloping him in love. "Look at the love," Mary said softly, her voice breaking through his reverie. "You're surrounded by it, John. Remember that." He glanced around, really seeing for the first time eyes sparkling like gemstones, hands raised in adoration, hearts wide open. This wasn't merely an assembly, it was a tapestry of souls woven tightly together by shared belief. Every face reflected a story of trials endured, miracles anticipated, and lives transformed. Faith is community, he realized, and suddenly, his journey felt less isolating. He was no longer a solitary wanderer but part of something expansive and alive. He could sense it, there were miracles woven into the very air they breathed, just waiting to be unwrapped by the hands of those willing to reach for them. As the crescendo of prayer heightened, he found himself moving closer to the center of the circle. Deepening breaths filled his lungs, revitalizing his spirit. The question still lingered, echoing beneath the prayers, "Will you trust?" To answer was to leap, to surrender completely. Heart racing, he stepped forward once more, adrenaline coursing through his veins. The power of faith surged around him like a tidal wave, undeniable and irresistible, and then, as if the heavens held their breath, a hush swept over the crowd. John paused, feeling the weight of their collective faith pooled around him. This moment was sacred, infused with a promise that was just on the horizon. His heart pounded, fierce and wild, pulsing along with each prayer vibrating in the air. "Something is about to happen," he whispered under his breath, excitement prickling at the back of his neck. At that precise moment, a glowing light descended, enveloping him and the villagers. A warmth beyond comprehension, it settled within his chest, filling him with an unshakable peace. Was this the miracle he had been longing for? Would this light lead him to an understanding he had sought for so long? As he stood bathed in divine radiance, a question drummed in his heart, beckoning him to discover with urgency. What will my next step be in this unfolding journey of faith? The light intensified, a warm embrace that stretched beyond the physical. John closed his eyes, sinking into the gentle buoyancy of this divine gift. It was as if time stood still, no past, no future, just an unyielding present filled with God's love. Whispers of the villagers danced around him, weaving like threads of silk, grounding him yet lifting him higher. In that sacred space, John felt the weight of his questions slip away. His heart opened wider, expanding to make room for the truths yet to be revealed. Waves of divine presence cascaded over him, erasing boundaries he had set around his heart. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was about the beautiful connection they all shared in faith. Trust in the unknown. The thought floated through his mind, the very essence of faith itself. Each word felt like a calling, stirring his spirit. Could he truly let go of his fears and uncertainties? His spirit tingled with uncertainty, yet the pull toward trust was undeniable. With each heartbeat, he sank deeper into the embrace of that radiant light. The murmurs of the gathering rose and fell like the gentle rhythm of an ocean tide, and then suddenly, like a sudden gust of wind, the prayers shifted. An unmistakable excitement rippled through the group, and he opened his eyes just in time to witness Martin, a leader among them, stepping forward with a fierce confidence. "God is revealing something," Martin proclaimed, eyes shining brighter than ever. "Open your hearts, for the Spirit is here to guide us." The villagers responded with a unified chant, their voices ringing out in rhythm and purpose. "We are ready. We are here." With every syllable that echoed, John felt that same fervor stir within him. The moment expanded, stretching into eternity, and he could feel the weight of expectation thickening around them. What was he being called to do? The question nudged him again, urging him toward the front. Then, as if responding to his thoughts, the light shifted above him. A figure began to take form within the glow, faint but unmistakable. John squinted into the brilliance, his breath catching. It appeared to be a messenger, a guide cloaked in pure radiance. The villagers fell silent, drawn together in collective awe, waiting for that figure to utter the words they all craved. "Your journey is just beginning, John," the figure spoke, voice as smooth as silk and filled with an indescribable love. "Trust in me. Allow the light to lead you through every shadow." John's heart soared. This was it. This was the moment he had longed for, the affirmation that the path was unfolding before him, led by a divine guide. "Step forward," the voice beckoned again. "Leave your doubts behind, and embrace your calling." He knew instinctively what he had to do. Taking a deep breath, he stepped into the circle's center, feeling the energy of countless prayers wrap around him like a protective mantle. As he moved, he could sense the spark of truth igniting in his spirit, urging him toward an act of faith. "Will you share your story?" the glowing figure inquired. "Each testimony is a thread of hope in this world." A wave of warmth washed over him at that moment. He might have entered this gathering in uncertainty, but now he was brimming with passion. "Yes. I will," he declared, his voice ringing clear and strong. The villagers erupted in euphoric cheers. "Yes, brother. Share your story." Filled with divine momentum, John's heart danced with joy. He could feel heaven aligning with earth in that instant, and he knew that this was just the beginning. He had taken his first step, and now the next one awaited. What remarkable story would unfold when he opened his heart fully? The mystery of his journey was alive, and in that unfolding, he could sense divine purpose awaiting expression. What daring leap of faith would follow? John glanced at the faces around him, a sea of joy radiating faith. Their eyes sparkled with anticipation, eager to hear the story that had been brewing in his heart. It felt like the very breath of God filled the air, urging him on. He took a deep breath again, letting the warmth of their faith seep into his soul. I have struggled, he began, each word flowing from a deep place within him. I wandered through valleys of doubt, wondering if I was worthy of God's love. The crowd leaned in closer, a wave of understanding rippling through them. I have seen darkness. I have faced my lowest moments, when hope felt like a flicker ready to extinguish. But I realized, he paused for a moment, letting the weight of his confession settle. I realized that it was in my darkest nights that God's light shone brightest. The villagers softly murmured, their hearts connecting with his vulnerability. They understood. They had faced their own struggles, their own moments in the darkness. I once stood at the edge of despair, drowning in self-doubt. But in that moment of despair, I cried out to God, desperate for a sign, desperate for hope. As he spoke, he felt the glowing figure in the light grow brighter, as if attuned to his words. And he answered. Not in grand gestures, but in whispers of love and grace. I felt his presence guiding me back to the light, showing me that I was never alone. You are not alone. Martin shouted, a flame of encouragement radiating from him, echoing the hopes of the others. We are all here, together in this light. That reassurance bolstered John's spirit even more. As I looked around, I could see that God's love is woven through each of us. Every smile shared, every prayer uttered, it builds a web of hope. Tears glistened in the eyes of many. John felt a unity growing, stitching together their hearts like the finest tapestry. It's not just about my story. It's about ours. Each of us carries a unique thread of His grace meant to intertwine and uplift. We have a purpose, a calling to share His light with others. The energy in the circle swelled as he spoke, voices singing praises softly in the background, lifting his testimony higher. In that sacred moment, John's vulnerability transformed into strength. He continued, God has shown me that my journey has value, not only for myself but for every soul searching for hope. There is power in sharing our stories, for they are beacons guiding others through darkness. The villagers responded, voices rising in unity, yes. Yes. Their affirmation was a heavenly chorus, an echo of hearts ignited by shared truths. Emboldened, John knew he had sparked a movement. Let us not hoard our experiences of hope. Let us share our loves and losses, our joys and trials, as a living testament of how God works in our lives. The light around him pulsed as if the divine presence rejoiced in agreement. He felt electric, vibrating with the power of collective faith. But as the words poured forth, a new thought crept into his heart. What if sharing our stories was just the beginning? A new question loomed in his mind, inviting him deeper into the mystery ahead. What if, in embracing their shared narratives, they could collectively forge a path that would reflect God's glory in the world outside their gathering? The villagers sensed it too, a knowing that their journey together was just unfolding, alive with divine potential. What wonders would await them at the crossroads of faith and courage? As the echoes of their shared affirmation lingered in the air, John felt a shift within the gathered hearts. The atmosphere crackled with expectation, each villager imbued with a sense of purpose that transcended their individual struggles. He could perceive the Spirit of God weaving through them, drawing them into a deeper unity. What if, John ventured, his voice soft yet firm, we began sharing our experiences beyond these walls? What if we let the world see the light we found together? The murmurs rippled through the crowd, curiosity mingling with excitement. That he looked into the eyes of Sarah, a dear friend who had weathered her own storms. Sarah, wouldn't you agree that our stories can reach hearts that are aching for hope? She nodded slowly, her eyes shining with conviction. Yes. There are many out there, feeling lost and alone. They need to hear our truth. Her words lit a fire within the gathering, inspiring others to vocalize their thoughts. Imagine, John continued, what it would look like for us to form a fellowship of hope, sharing our journeys, supporting one another, and reaching out to those who feel isolated. One by one, hands raised with affirmations of agreement. Each villager spoke of someone in their life who was struggling, someone who could benefit from the light they had found together. It was as if they were breathing life into an unfolding vision, embracing the call to spread a message that originated from their very beings. A young man named David jumped to his feet, his heart racing. In sharing, we can show others how God has transformed us. We can be His messengers. His enthusiasm ignited cheers from the group, their voices rising to meet the heavens, the warmth of connection wrapped around them, strengthening their resolve. John felt a divine momentum building, a sacred commission that could not be ignored. Let us not take this lightly. The world is hungry for hope. Our journey together equips us to be the hands and feet of Jesus. As twilight began to caress the horizon, hinting at the beauty of what was to come, John sensed a gentle nudge within his spirit. What if we began a series of gatherings? Opportunities to share our stories, to pray together, to dive deeper into His Word and to invite others in. Visions of open hearts and searching souls filled his mind as the villagers joyously embraced the idea. Faces lit with anticipation as they exchanged ideas about how to bring their newfound mission to life. Martin stood up, eyes brimming with passion. Let us invite people from nearby villages. We can spread the news of hope far and wide. Let us create a movement of love and grace. Every word echoed with the alignment of heavenly intent. John marveled at the Spirit's guidance rushing through their hearts, ensuring each voice was heard, each story valued. Yet, even amidst the collective excitement, John could not shake the weight of uncertainty resting on his heart. What if they stumbled along this new path? What challenges awaited them? You know, he said after a thoughtful pause, going into the world will require courage and wisdom. God will need to prepare us. An all-encompassing silence fell as they pondered his words. In that moment, John felt the sacredness of their commitment solidify. Their path was not merely one of sharing stories, it was an open invitation for God to perform wonders among them. What transformative encounters awaited them as they stepped forward in faith? How would the world respond to the light they aimed to share? The question hung in the air, a sacred mystery waiting to unfold. In the gentle glow of dawn, the ancient village stirred with the anticipation of a new day. Mary, John, and the villagers gathered once more in the sanctuary, where yesterday's miraculous reunion still echoed in their hearts. The warm light illuminated their faces, hope felt almost tangible. Mary stood in the center, her eyes bright with unconditional love. Today is the day we embrace our calling, she began, trembling with excitement and conviction. Today, we take our faith beyond these walls. A murmur of agreement rippled through the congregation, a vibrant tapestry of voices woven with newfound courage and ardor. John stood close, his heart fluttering as he noticed the transformation in each face around him, the flickering flames of faith reflected in their eyes. Yesterday's uncertainties had been swept away by a tide of collective belief, and he felt himself swept along in that divine current, pulled closer to the light. Many are still searching, John said, as his voice broke the dawning silence. We have felt the depths of despair, but now we know the sweetness of hope. How can we withhold this gift? His declaration sparked applause and affirmation, a chorus of amens and hallelujahs filled the air. As they gathered closer, Mary continued, let us prepare to share our stories. Let us speak of our struggles, the darkness we faced, and how we found light. The villagers nodded eagerly, thoughts racing toward the people in their lives longing for encouragement. One by one, names began to bubble forth: the widow from the edge of town, the lost child whose laughter once rang through the streets, the elderly couple burdened with grief. Each mention stirred a rumble of purpose within them all, a churning sense of mission ignited afresh. David, the young man who had spoken out yesterday, raised his voice again, bringing forth visions he had been nurturing. What if we host gatherings every week? Not just for us, but for all those searching for solace. His eyes sparkled. He was lit up with a fervor that swept across the assembly like wildfire. Yes. A woman chimed in. Let us not only share our stories but pray for healing and guidance. Let us create space for others to encounter this grace we've been gifted. The crowd erupted into cheers. As the plans unfolded, John felt the weight of uncertainty transform into an exhilarating thrill. This was not merely an obligation, it was an invitation to transcend the ordinary. We can set up prayer circles, he added. Invite those yearning for connection, those seeking peace. Let us show them that they are not alone. The congregation roared with applause, hearts now united in a single purpose. Mary saw John's spirit igniting, the last remnants of doubt dissolving in the heat of collective faith. This was indeed their moment, a divine commission to be beacons of hope in a dim world. With determination burning brightly in her chest, Mary rallied everyone. Let us not wait another moment. We prepare our hearts and our homes. Let us ignite this movement with love. As they broke into groups, organizing their efforts, a sense of purpose surged through every soul. They painted signs, set up messages of hope, and united their prayers in preparation for the upcoming gatherings. Fingers touched the sacred pages of the journal, where miracles were etched, and inspiration ignited. That evening, as the sun dipped low and a fiery sunset painted the skies, the villagers watched their first gathering come alive. Each visitor who stepped into the sanctuary was greeted not just with smiles, but with warm embraces and open hearts. Their stories flowed freely, each echoing the transformative power of shared faith. The nights turned into weeks, and the gatherings blossomed like wildflowers after a rain. Hope rippled through their hearts, stirring the village into a vibrant tapestry of love, laughter, and miracles, and then the miracle they had all yearned for came to be. A woman from a neighboring village, struggling with a crippling illness, stepped into the light of the sanctuary one evening and felt the tangible presence of God wrap around her. That night, as prayers ascended like smoke, she found healing not just of her body but of her weary spirit. Look at what faith can do, John declared, tears of gratitude shining in his eyes as he witnessed her transformation, the divine magic he had longed to embrace. The villagers erupted in joyous celebration, their voices lifting higher in a symphony of praise. The light within the sanctuary blazed. It was no longer just a place but a movement of divine love. And as Mary, John, and Sarah stood amidst the gathered throng, they understood they had not just formed a community, they had launched a revival. In that divine moment, renewed purpose flooded their hearts. They had chosen faith, embraced hope, and opened their arms wider and wider, creating a legacy of love, destined to echo through generations. As the stars twinkled like divine promises above, they joined hands, lifting them skyward in awe and surrender, ready for whatever God would unfold next. They had chosen to trust in the divine path, and miracles were now part of their daily lives. Their time had come. They were transformed, and so, dear friends, this is where we invite you to step into your own journey. Join us. You need to subscribe now to be a part of these extraordinary faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support truly matters. Comment below, share your reactions and your testimonies about this ending. It's a lifeline for others. And listen, don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope and divine wonder. Together, let us spread light, love, and faith.